Hello, everybody. I'm Sean Bond of the Psionic League at PsionicLeague.com. Today we have a wonderful guest, Savita the Starseed. Savita is a hybrid soul that volunteered to come to Earth during this pivotal time in Ascension. Her galactic origins stem from Lyra constellation during the Lyran and Draconian Wars, as well as Orion. To infiltrate the dark side and break the matrix. Savita has a YouTube channel where she hosts her show, a interview with a starseed, to talk with other souls about their mission. She publishes information on starseed lineages and loves to decode wild messages through synchronicities. She's also good at soft disclosure, and we're going to have a show. Wonderful to have you. Thanks for coming on. And
Well,
back and forth.
well, thanks for having me. It's good to see you again, Sean, and I'm looking forward to what we're going to talk about for a little bit. It's been interesting.
Right? So can you talk a little bit about how we met and what inspired you to go to this galactic conference we met at?
Sure. So the Galactic Conference, oh my goodness. So I have a friend who's also on YouTube. Her name is Lily Nova, and you can go ahead and find her. She has some interesting footage of and CE5, all that cool stuff. And she also does live meditations. So her and I were thinking about going together, and we're like, okay, should we do this? Should we not? We were so flip-floppy and so indecisive about should we go, should we not? And then she sends me a video of a cereal box by Kashi with the word go on it as we're talking about it. And we're like, okay, fine, we'll go. So we go ahead and go. And boy, will I say that that conference was absolutely life-changing. And it really struck my heart beautifully, of course, because just everything that came together was amazing between the speakers and what they were saying and the people that were there. Everybody was just enjoying themselves. Everybody was free and loving, and it was fucking awesome. So I don't remember like the absolute the first night that I showed up. I remember now. You and I, man, we were chilling out by the campfire with a group of people consistent of Lily and Robert Earl White. And between then and the rest of the weekend, dude, we had some interesting conversations, and especially going to Disney's Animal Kingdom together. That was a rocking experience in itself, right?
Right.
And then I appreciated how you and Quantum Businessman hosted that Mandala Effect session, because that one was cool too, to get to meet more people and talk about that stuff.
I'm glad you liked it. Yeah, and that was one of my favorite times going to amusement park. And the Avatar ride was amazing. Oh my God, like Memory and bleed over, and I can't wait for the movie to come out. How was the rest of your trip through that park?
Oh my God, it was awesome.
Did you get to experience it at night?
A little bit at night, yeah. I did have to take Lily back to the airport after, so we didn't stay too late, but practically right before the park closed. But the lights were beautiful in everything that they did. But the whole day in itself was such a spiritual moment, because even from before we all met up at the park, we saw DNA strands in the clouds and the number 12 for the 12 strands of DNA thing, and just a couple of synchronicities, and how when we were in line for the rides, we would see portals and eyes and UFO beaming stuff. And just, it was really interesting. But we absolutely love Avatar just because that movie in itself holds such a deep meaning, especially when it comes to the Lyrans. And I know Erica, the First Lady Erica, and I were crying on the flight of passage, because we're just like, oh my God, we're free. And we're just flying all over the place. And we're all like, don't look down, Shrek, but we're flying. But it was a great day. I absolutely loved spending it with everybody.
I recommend doing that flight. Oh man, very resonating and like will get you blissed out. And we started, getting those emotional bleed overs that have memories that come with them.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, and what did you think of the conference when you went?
I absolutely loved it, especially
The speakers?
well, outside of the speakers, just meeting everybody, including you, like just being able to finally talk to people in person openly about this stuff and be there for each other and bounce things off of one another and exchange knowledge, blah, and just have a great time. Like the energy was freaking awesome. And I definitely had a lot of closure to my own stuff during that conference, thanks to you, especially because you're tapped in
Are you
you're
okay with talking about that?
of course. I was about to ask if you wanted me to mention it, but yeah, absolutely. I remember you, me, and Kat, man, we were hanging out in like intermission or something, and we were running to the bathroom, and you were helping us figure out whatever the hell we were going through in that moment. And I remember talking about the dream to the both of you. I go tinkle, I come out, and then you drop the truth bomb. And I was just like, so much went through my mind in that moment between getting the confirmation and the closure that that was a past life, not just a dream, obviously, and that it's it was such a deep moment in the universe's existence, essentially, because the Lyran and Draconian War was like the first thing to domino effect everything else and to bring us here right now. It's crazy. So for the dream, for those of you that are watching and you don't know, well, this is just pretty much a gist. I was flying in like a floating city, and I go into a building and I see light blue skinned bald people. They looked very similar, but different heights, different genders, but I could sense that they were all working as a unison consciousness. And I go back outside and then I see the ship come in. The ship opens on the bottom. Out comes these really tall ass mechanical dinosaurs, like on two legs, just like walking down, and very stocky and very big, and just everything about them was mechanical, even their scales, to the point where all they had to do was just bump somebody and you're automatically bleeding. Like it's just such a deep cut. They were literally designed to infiltrate and kill. And they had those red eyes, and they were just they were really dark. Their teeth were freaking sharp. They definitely had some green blood dripping from their mouths too. I remember that. Typical gear springs and sprockets, but the best thing I could relate it to is Grimlock from Transformers Age of Extinction, his face. That's what their faces looked like. Not necessarily that they had the body of a T-Rex, but how it's mechanical with the red eyes and the sharp teeth and everything. And next thing I see these big ass beings just blowing everything up, blowing up the buildings, the ship shooting, and then people are getting killed. But at that moment, of course, I run back inside and rush people downstairs to go through the portal that we had below, because in state of emergencies, like, you can't have portals closed. They're going to be open at all times. And I go back upstairs to see if there were any more survivors, but there were not. There were a few dead bodies, including children, and it was very hard to see. I'm okay with talking about it now, but even you remember, like, the moment that you helped me put two and two together, I broke down in that hallway. I lost my shit. I started pouring out tears, like right next to you and Kat, and I'm very grateful that the two of you were there for me in that moment, because that's crazy to come to terms with. Of course, we go through our awakenings, but we don't really think for a second we are reincarnated beings here. Like, just hang on to that thought. Your soul has had other lives in other parts of the galaxy that have to deal with this Earth's ascension and the timeline that came to it. And we have the answers within us. But of course, with the way that that dream ended, like, unfortunately, yeah, there were a lot of dead bodies, and the survivors that survived, cool. And unfortunately, a lot of souls were lost even outside of the Lyra constellation after all the different wars and battles and sacrifices that occurred in all constellations, even because these quote unquote dark beings want to take over. They wanted to infiltrate every Stargate. They wanted to take over for that power, that money, those resources, everything. It's all about power. But I just remember walking through that portal, like after checking for more survivors and how there weren't. I remember waving my hand over some part of the wall, but like by the staircase to the point where it would cover the stairs. That way, whenever I get down the steps, I got like an extra barrier. But before I got through the portal, I look up and I see that the door like blasted open and I could see those red eyes one more time, just looking at me through that hole in the ground. And then I go through the portal and I wake up. But all of that happened in like the daytime in Lyra. Like it wasn't like a nighttime war. It was definitely in the daytime. I remember the sun was out clear as day. The ocean was beneath these cities, and it was beautiful before it was destroyed. But I think that a lot of these people that were sacrificed are still quote unquote alive, but that their souls are being reused. Because you mentioned that at one point too when we were talking about it, Sean. And to me, it kind of makes sense because it's almost like the Matrix movies, how they were using people for batteries for energy. It could be the same thing with these souls that were captured throughout the different places in the universe. So it's crazy. I had that dream like March, April, May earlier this year, maybe April, sometime in the spring. And then I finally get closure on what that was when I go to the conference and meet you. So thank you again for being there for people and using your gifts to help others get through their bullshit. Thank you so much, dude, because from the bottom of my heart, like you have given me such a huge answer to help me like move forward with my own personal stuff, and especially other people at the conference. I saw you were helping other people that had no idea what they were even fucking doing there, and they're like, why am I here? I have no idea. I am not getting any answers. And you sit down doing your bond thing and they're like, oh, thank you. So I highly encourage anybody to work with Sean Bond. Seriously, thank you. You're muted.
Of course. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you saying them. Thank you for sharing your words and your emotions and your memory, and something that resonates deeply ingrained into people's soul and their DNA. And many people that will watch this video will thank you as well in the comments. Please comment below if this will emotionally affect you. The lion roars. The lion roars. The Lyra wars. It kind of is.
I know it's a tongue twister.
Is something that affects most people. The Lyrans are like the progenitors of the human species in most mammalian races. They have a lot of authority. They're like high source level authorities, like, incarnating in like a big group of light in this galaxy, and their residual image is even older than this galaxy and goes back to ancient universes, like the lion people and other type of feline and humanoid and all that. So there's many different offshoots and factions and colonies of them, and the Draco. There is a bunch of beings invading into this universe, and war and darkness from other multiverses invaded, and they're like, oh, who is the most corrupt and who's the most susceptible to our possession? And then they started invading and then corrupting the Draco, and then got the Draco to be this big resilient super hard to kill species that's incredibly haunted and dark, and to invade other worlds and enslave many beings. And they attempted to steal, invade, corrupt, spiritually invade, form betrayal situations, and then open the door to allow these more secure realms held by the Lyran people to then invade, kill, steal, capture powerful souls and then use them as batteries and harvest off them. And a lot of people's loved ones, and even deities and gods, were captured and sacrificed themselves to help others escape.
Mhm.
So it's very triggery, because a lot of people that have incarnating back then will have lost a soul family and loved ones to these wars, and they're still captured by Draco and Orion factions and various
They are.
races that need to be liberated still, and their pain can still be felt through the heartache and the rips and the entanglement of what they're experiencing still to us people. Are you, while it's still somewhat fresh, can you talk, because I remember when we walked and back and forth between the conference and the restroom, and I like
Yeah.
read into what like I was reading into what this dream that you had is, and I it started getting deeper and more emotional. I was like, oh man, are you are you okay? This is gonna be Trigger City. So I rate things for like how much they're gonna make somebody cry in Trigger. And
Yeah.
those are like some big healings, and this was up there, and so I
It
knew it
was a
was gonna,
20 out of 10.
yeah, I knew it was gonna affect you.
Yeah.
So I'm glad we were able to be there for you and help you through that. I wish we had more time for you to cry it out. Can you talk about some of the emotions that you still have in that ball? Because I know it's nowhere near fully resolved. That you what you feel into with that emotion, so that it can help other people to and trigger them to heal and release their trauma from this Lyran invasion.
Yeah, that's a good question. So, especially like knowing that all this bad stuff has happened, we need to remind ourselves that we are here right now, right? And we were put here to carry on the mission of what these beings wanted in the first place. And as tough as it may be to come to terms with what has happened and the quote unquote losses that we have had, we have also gained. We have gained a stronger side within ourselves. And as Sean was saying, a lot of them are not dead. A lot of their souls are still alive. I have a comment on that. Please remind me in a couple seconds, because I know that they are still alive. Um, so for me in particular, of course, when it clicked, I was pissed. I was fucking pissed. I was upset. I felt like a huge part of me was missing. And then reflecting back throughout my life, like it made a lot of sense because I felt very solo in my personal life, as compared to others. Some of us feel that we have a lot of people with us, but with our personal journeys, like it for me, it felt solo. I felt angry a lot growing up. It just knowing what this dream was, quote unquote, it's a memory. All of that carried on to my early years in life. And I noticed that I had a lot more trauma and a lot more grudges held for deeper reasons beyond this 3D reality that I didn't even realize. So I remind myself now, we're kicking their ass, okay, on this light side, and we are taking ourselves back. We are bringing back Earth and her proper balance. We are bringing the ethereal and the physical back to this planet, and we are gaining the power within us to save these souls from being trapped. And to catch up on that part, after the conference, I started reflecting a little bit about that memory in Lyra, and I'm just like trying to think, was there anything in my early years that tied to this? And I remembered a couple of small little dreams that I would have every now and then when I was like before 10 years old. I remember a group of blue beings calling out to me, like a silhouette of, just think of like silhouettes, but blue, with blue aura around them, calling out for me. I was itty bitty, but I did not remember those little kind of dreams until this clicked. I also remembered being able to, I guess I could say levitate, but it's like you're walking on air. And I remember having like the feeling in my head of making the matter turn into the platform for me to walk on, even though it was just air. like at a young age. I can't explain it too much because again, this is a long time ago, but I was starting to remember these certain dreams. But I remember like blue beings calling out to me, like their silhouettes. I don't remember like their eyes, I don't remember their face, but I remember like a group as a silhouette calling out, and as their auras radiated, it's like they were having a louder and louder cry for help. But I didn't remember who the hell these people were. But then I remembered more dreams that I had. I remember, like, I don't want to say playing, but just engaging with other people. Some people were doing music like through their vocals, I guess, just simple harmonic frequencies and vocals. Some people were being scientists and doctors. Like, there's all that kind of basic stuff in the kind of economy that existed there. But I started to remember certain things. So, with those kind of dreams at a younger age, and that obviously ties to the dream that I had now. I now can finally come to terms, they're not gone. They are still alive. Absolutely. These souls, they sacrificed themselves. Yes, but their energy is still around. And we need to, I guess, acknowledge that, or maybe find a way that we can help free these souls from being trapped. I don't know what you would think would be any good ideas to do that besides matrix busting, like everybody doing like meditations and dedicated to the Lyrans or something. Well, not just Lyrans, tons of beings, but I'm not sure what we can do to help free those souls. But it's interesting for sure. I just don't know how we can free them at the moment, but I think we will somehow.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's one of our main goals. It, it, this is, Lyra is very powerful and high in the emotion of love and deep with each of the members of our soul family that have been captured, abused, killed, fractured into many pieces, and their authority stolen and are being used as batteries to fuel a dark agenda to incur on other worlds through their authority. So there's things you can there's a lot of abilities to stack on top of each other to doing this, and previous incarnations it's been a big goal after the initial big wounds of the war. There's been many efforts to find solutions, and a lot of the solutions either go to where spirits and the Lyra faction incarnate into the Draco and the Ryan lineages and empires under like a rebel type of Star Wars empire, a rebel versus empire kind of concept, and then incarnate into that species as sleeper cell agents for making everything change. Work up to a level of authority where they can free them, or the other one is coming to Earth and utilizing the super hybrid tech of the human body, and then utilize that to gain more power and authority to free them from a distance. So there's many factions that are involved in these solutions, some doing both at the same time and doing it as fast as they can, and seeing which one will overcome. Their imprisonment goes to either being stored in actual beings like the T-Rexes that are in prisoner, especially depending on how much big an apex predator they are spiritually. They capture spirits that they eat. That's a lot of these predatory dinosaurs utilize power by doing that, such as raptors or them. The Draco themselves have this big energy harvesting system, so a lot of the superpower is stolen by from like the fall of Atlantis, fall of Lemuria, and Lyran invasion that were stolen from these beings are funneled to the apex predators in the Draco constellation. some entities controlling above them, but usually they'll have a storage, usually physically, because there's more power to that as a prison that's harder to get.
I was gonna say it kind of sounds like the Scooby-Doo movie where they go to Spooky Island.
Oh yeah,
I know you've seen that one. Come on.
I have, but I haven't seen it in a while. Can you refresh me on is it like a spiritual prison or something?
It is a spiritual prison. Scooby and the gang go to Spooky Island because it's quote unquote haunted, but what they find out is that the typical park guests, their souls are being switched out with the quote unquote demon spirits that are there. So they literally hijack their bodies, but keep their actual soul in this bowl. Like, remember like the big bull, and like I forget the guy's name, but he well, because Scrappy was actually the enemy. That was the plot twist. But he would literally steal all the souls within him, and he would grow and mutate. And he was, kicking Scooby's ass, but because he had all the souls in him. So if that sounds like
Right. Ah, yeah, that's true. Yeah, we'll have to do a show on that.
yeah.
Yeah, the negative forces don't earn their authority through moral code, so they do it through a predatory stealing and then accumulating that power.
Yeah.
There's physical prisons, there's matrices, simulations, quarantines, reverse fortresses, all this kind of tech around to keep them within. A lot of the predators that keep the souls within themselves, they'll store it in either their stomach in a prison or a dantian in prison, usually around the solar plexus, and then use that as like a battery system. And it's not exactly fun at all for the beings that are being captured. It depends on how well they're able to shield themselves or seal them within a ball, or if they're like abused into a type of hibernation, coma, is usually what I'll see. Yeah, so the spirit of the soul family will still be intact, because if they're destroyed, then they lose a lot of their authority. That doesn't stop some of the destructionary predators, because I have seen predators devour beings and fracture them into millions of pieces. But not always the best strategy if you want to keep energy going. So it's more of like a feral type of destruction. Yeah, and then I gave you a list of the stuff that would resolve these type of beings. Maybe I'll find that list, but I don't have to like mention it all. I just like be going into things that would help you. So the things would go into things you can learn in a human body would be regaining wholeness, and then being able to find or go back in time a version of their or a part of their spirit that you can protect and heal and use as like a hub to regain full wholeness through their own authority and pull back the parts. Because they're being prison, it's hard to pull them back, but there's ways. Superpower matrix busting is the thing you mentioned, which would be like, what are some of the tech that's being used to keep them in a prison and harvest energy of them. Gaining capture abilities at a high level. Forced evocation, which goes into ritual magic, be to invoke a specific part of the soul that's captured. If you there's people that can force summon spirits. You can force summon your soul family that is in a prison. There's a lot of drama entangled with that, so you'd have to make stuff to resolve that. Anything that would prevent that or be attached to it that was stealing energy off it, that would maybe want to come along with the invocation, so it'd be like a filtered type of situation. Surgical prison break, camouflage so that nothing starts targeting you after that and tries to reclaim them. and then the ability to teleport souls, and then a bunch of combat methods. So that there's various strategies one can do to get these our soul family back out of these prisons. Uh, the psionic combat thing is not exactly fun, but it's one of the strategies people are trying to up there. These are big predators, so they're really hard. They stole a bunch of superpowers, force, telekinesis, and death authority. So you'd have to be proficient in those and preventing them from killing you from a distance, which is not the hardest. And like I'm fairly good at that, but it's all about like getting good at preventing death energy from coming onto your body and catching it and then treating it with love and transmuting it or putting it into a pocket dimension and then caring for it and then reclaiming the authority that was stolen originally because they didn't earn that death authority, right? That all these abilities are stolen. So there's quite a big chess player one is playing against when they're coming up against these things. It's why it hasn't been fully. Some of the people that were in prison have been let go of through various methods of beings incarnating here or infiltrating the Draco or the Orion reptoids, and then working up to authority, and then a lot of them gain authority through combat with others. So some of those ones they're entering combat with will be holding those beings in prison. So if they beat them in a battle of death, then uh they're the ones that earned everything that they have, including the beings in the prison, so they can then let them out or whatever. And a lot of them have to be camouflaged and kept from remembering so that the beings that are monitoring them to try to figure out who they are aren't get tipped off. So there's a big strategy with that. So be careful, anyone out there doing that.
I remember you talking about the Pindar with that stuff. Yeah,
Right.
working up in the hierarchy and that.
So yeah, did you have any more interaction with these mechanical T-Rex? I read there's a bunch of these weaponized dinosaurs. These are very advanced ones that you described that have like
I'm telling you, if I had the materials and the people, like I would turn that shit into a movie right now. Because I have it up here on what they look like.
yeah, you should draw it and then work it out. Maybe you will make a movie. I read that 90% of these type of T-Rexes are actual birthed or cloned T-Rexes that then have armor around them or are cybernetically enhanced, or some of them end up dying and then they get revived, and each time they get revived they get more cybernetics and put on them. I've seen really advanced ones with nanites that are like the Iron Man armor that shapeshift and can be super deadly if you even scrape up against them to infect a person. As well as this armor and kind of like a shark, like there's blades, like fractal structure to them, but it could be like super defensive too. Um, did these look like they were fully cybernetic or that there was a T-Rex underneath?
No, they looked 100%, well, 1,000% cybernetic, especially with those eyes, like no eye sockets, like literally just like any typical red little LED eyes from like that Transformer dino, like straight up. There, I didn't sense any life. I saw that green blood, which I hear is like droids because they're like robots or something or some shit like that. But I'm telling you, like there was no life in these things whatsoever. They were tall, they were like I could feel the heaviness of every step they took down that ramp.
Mm.
Those scales were sharp, like literally just one bump and you're bleeding. They were literally designed to kill. Yeah,
Walking
it's
tanks,
crazy. What?
walking tanks that are hard to
No,
back
literally.
into and will be unleashed on worlds that like cause destruction and then capture souls and
Yep.
you know.
Yeah. I wasn't even watching anything around the time that would have tied anything into that. Like I wasn't watching Transformers, I wasn't watching Avengers or anything. And it was definitely in color because I remember those red eyes and that green blood, but it was definitely a memory. It's interesting because I haven't met a lot of people, like at least in this community, that have at least seen or are at least heard of these mechanical beings. And you're honestly probably the only one that has a familiarity with it that I know at least. So what else do you know about that? I'm curious. Like, do you know if it was part of like the Clone Wars, quote unquote, like how they replicated all the grays and stuff like that?
Um, there's a bunch of different methods they use. A lot of their technology they steal from other worlds, and then they torture and get the scientists to tell them their secrets so they can perpetuate them. Uh, the Draco aren't uh hugely DNA linked with T-Rexes, so they will have to have gone to a world of them and dominated them, which I do read. They're more associated with like raptor races. And go ahead, you were gonna say something.
I was gonna say, if you know the game Soul Calibur, like literally Lizard Man, but mechanical, 1000%. Upright on 2 feet with the tail, and
Mm,
they definitely had a spike at the end of the tail to like a xenomorph. I remember that. They
mm.
were freaking deadly. Um, yeah, so I don't know if that would make any more sense with how it literally looked like Lizard Man from Soul Calibur, how it was up
Okay,
on 2 feet like that.
now I'll look into that. I think I know what you're talking about. Um, yep.
He's like the crappiest character. Like he's the worst one you can play, but it's not a coincidence I would play him as a little kid now, looking back. Oh my God.
The history of these, with what I read, is that they started dominating T-Rexes initially, and then they kept pushing the envelope of how advanced they could get them into their means, including psionic domination, mind controlling them with implants, cybernetic brain, and then utilizing the some of them dying, and then putting more and more cybernetics in them, and then to the point where they have created a whole industry into then creating giant robots. Um, it's quite a few different types of models they have. A lot of emotions with this. Oh, and I remember when we were talking that you were getting more bleed overs of the lives you had after that into building a solution for it.
Oh, like the alternate timelines of Earth that I saw, or the ones where I think I was in Orion. I'm not sure where I was. But because I did see alternate timelines of this Earth, um, because I saw like Project Bluebeam go to play, like the fake alien invasion thing.
Hmm.
Um, and I know that had to have been an alternate timeline because it was definitely in color, not black and white. Two, you were a good confirmation. But three, my little sister was in there with me at the age that she will be in like 2 years. But I saw this like way before COVID. So
Ooh.
yeah, and then at that point there was another one that I had, another dream that I saw, quote unquote, had past life, alternate, whatever, where I was running and hiding. Like once the invasion started, I kept running and hiding from all these crafts, just alien crafts. And this again was before my Starseed rabbit hole. And I remember running and hiding, and then like like a collapsed building, so you'll see like broken down like windows and glass. So think of like a really tall empty warehouse with just messed up walls and everything, but you have like underground, like huge concrete pipes big enough for people to run into and hide. I remember doing that while the typical triangle craft with the light in the middle was going up to the window and was scanning the room for me and other people, and it moved away. And at the same time, I had a boot on my right ankle that I engineered to help me run faster, because this ankle I've sprained 3 times. But I've had that dream before I ever sprained this ankle. That's why I'm so creeped out too, because I'm like, I don't know if this is still supposed to be happening or if this is 1,000% a different timeline, because we're here incarnated to help Earth and the humanity on it. But that was weird because like I can't. How could that be a thing? Like, how could you have a dream about knowing you have a messed up ankle, but then in the future, as above, so below? That exact ankle's messed up here, and I rolled it 3 times to this day. So seeing those alternate timelines of running and hiding from these crafts and dark beings, like I remember being in like an abandoned hotel with some people, and some of the alien fingers would try and creep from like behind the closet, but I'd bolt down and there would be ships flying everywhere. And even my mom is saying she's having invasion dreams, and she isn't even into this stuff. Everyone's having premonitions.
That's good.
It's so I don't know if that's gonna still happen personally. I hope not.
Premonition, like a lot of people and my clients come to me and like, oh, I had this dream about like giant tsunami. I making me move from California, or like lava or Yellowstone exploding or all this other stuff. My with what I go into my ability, I usually read into like, oh, okay, is this a premonition? Is it going to happen? Like, and what's the percentage likely of happening? And a lot of the times it's usually premonitions are shown to people that have the authority to stop them or resolve them or prevent them.
Yeah.
So you have the authority to, and you've been for various amounts of percentages that you've been successful. Not everything is resolved. So I'd say the timeline has changed, but there are aspects of the players involved that are still have a motivation to do what they're doing, including races that want to invade this planet. So a lot of it would be resolved when those motivations get ceased, or their ability to do so is prevented fully. So you change the timeline, but still keep working on it. That and same thing with anyone else that has premonitions. You keep working out, putting energy towards it, finding solutions. Find out what the key points are that allow that to anchor in, and then resolve them so that those votes for the timeline on where our path trajectory is taken in the dark or the light, that those votes pulling in the dark direction get detached in whatever way you can put towards that. And your higher self, even if you don't know, will have some capability, and as long as you put power and enough into that, then you can start getting things done.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, and I love how many visions you have. It's very
Dude, it's
impressive
been
compared to others.
crazy.
Yeah. uh and you got a lot of good observations and awarenesses and things calling you. Yeah, and can you talk about like some of your shows and stuff with whatever time we have? Like you said you just ran into a thing with Rick and Morty and McDonald's. Can you like elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah. So that one,
Are you
so
doing a
I'll
show on
go.
that?
I was going to do a video on that one, yes, because I recorded the clip from the show ahead of time in case it gets removed. But yeah, so if anybody knows the Rick and Morty characters, well, sorry, the Rick and Morty show, the people that make Rick and Morty, they have another show called Solar Opposites on Hulu. Well, they made a Halloween special called the Poloni Show. And within the first like 5 minutes, it's like a movie of the cartoon characters, but they have like mini skits, like little Halloween skits in between. So literally the second one, with one of the first few, there's this character, Flopsy, that's on a kids show. And he's like literally the main character of the kids show, and there he has like two female assistants that introduce him into the show. So when it's his turn to like, hey kids, here comes Flopsy, whatever, out comes this guy all messed up looking, like his face is all messed up, like he was having some test done, his eye was bulging, like he just looked terrible. And even the chicks were like, whoa, are you okay? And then throughout this entire skit, there's an audience of children. But as the skit goes on, children are being removed and placed with dummy dolls, which is fucked up. That's creepy. Because children are taken a lot and switched out and quote unquote cloned and replaced for their actual source of energy because they're so pure, they haven't been programmed yet, essentially. So this character literally was like, I took a swim in the LA River. Don't go in there. There are portals there. You better start kissing ass to the lizard people because I swear to shit, they're taking over. Like he went in. He was like, they did tests on me. They mated with me, but now I can live forever, right? Like he was literally throwing it out there. And my boyfriend puts this on Halloween night, and him and I were just talking about this stuff. He's not like completely invested because, you know, I get it. It's a huge rabbit hole to dive into. But as we're talking about it, he puts this show on, and then that's one of the first scenes. I'm like, babe, that's synchronicity, just saying. But even he's like, whoa, that's messed up. So I show my aunt that when I visited her in New Jersey, and then that's when she showed me the McDonald's toy that she had, and literally in the Poloni show, like skit with that Flopsy Plopsy guy, whatever his name is, they literally have the same colors, purple, red, and yellow. As I'm showing her this, she gives me this toy, and I hold it up to the TV, and then I notice that the colors are exactly the same. Um, can you do share screen on here?
Sure.
Actually, wait, yeah, let me see if I could find it real quick. Poloni show. Just want to see if I can find a picture of this guy.
You also go into, while you're bringing that up, some interesting rabbit holes on the blue and red.
Yeah, we
I,
can talk about that. Here, I sent you a picture, but I'll go ahead and pop it up here, just so that way you could see it better on your end. But that's the
yeah.
character on the show, and he's got the same colors. I mean, I know it looks weird with the camera, but his skin's purple. He's got the red cape and the yellow top, but which is the same as like the toy. Like as I'm showing my aunt this scene, that's when she busts out the toy, and they just happen to be the same colors, which is not a coincidence. We know that. But the fact that that character in the show was talking about mating programs, tests, lizard people taking over, portals, and that kids were disappearing constantly in the audience and being replaced with clones, like that shit happens. And then this, I went on the website of the people that designed this. They're called Cactus Plant Flea Market, and they have a website that have merchandise of this stuff, and they have a shirt that says yummy yummy double vision McDonald's in my tummy, something like that. It is weird. And when my aunt was showing this to me, she's like, well, double vision, yes, but what is double vision? You know, not being able to see clearly, being deceived, being lied to, being gaslighted essentially from the truth. And then, you know, if this isn't a freaking McDonald's toy and they're talking about double vision and the colors co-line to that show, like that to me is synchronicity and confirmation that that stuff is going on, right? It's creepy. Like,
Those,
why would they do this?
there's a bunch of crazy rabbit holes with McDonald's. Have you seen that show Inside Job?
Yes. Oh my God, I love that show. Yes,
They
I
have
do.
a lot of those.
I've already seen the second season.
Oh,
Yes.
cool. Yeah, yeah, we're gonna watch it tonight. But yeah, one of my fun favorite things they had on there when they were on the moon and looked at Earth and they were like, "Oh yeah, yeah, that's Atlantis." You know how the huge budget the NSA and uses to cover that up in all the space photos, and it's like this big, big extra continent there. It's like, oh geez.
There's
Well,
so many like messages in that show. Even in season 2, they're talking about Mandela effects now.
no, sweet. Oh, definitely. Thank you for
Yeah.
that. Yeah, what can for people like that like go over to Savita's channel if you want to go deeper in this. Can you talk a little bit of the red and blue thing?
Oh yes, 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 yes. So yeah, on my YouTube channel, I have a show called Interview with the Starseed where I bring on fellow Starseeds to talk about their journey. So if you want to come on over and watch, you're welcome. And I also am decoding some stuff, bunch of stuff. Next is going to be McDonald's and Rick and Morty people. But I just recently decoded the 2004 SpongeBob film because of this whole red and blue thing. And it's funny because I met somebody in person who also picked up on red and blue. So here we go. I started seeing red like crazy for probably about a year, and I was not sure why. I just everywhere I turned, it was red with 33s, 313s, 333s, or 13s. Like I just kept seeing those same numbers with the color, whether it was on a plate or an advertisement, just whatever. I started seeing a lot of red, had no idea why. And I explained this in my videos, part 1 and 2. So after a bunch of, mental stuff and personal journey stuff and searching, I eventually came to the conclusion that red was the physical reality. And then while I was figuring out what red was, I kind of had a little bit of blue thrown my way. And then I picked up quickly that blue is ethereal because we look at the chakras, root is the physical, where we, get rid of that fear and that guilt, like stay strong and stay safe, have your strength, like don't be afraid. Just remember you're human, ground, all that stuff. That's physical. While ethereal could be like the third eye, that's what that's how you channel as well as your crown. Like once you have the two in balance, you have your purple. So I know it's like really random, but I was trying to figure out what these colors were and not realizing that I did figure it out. Just in the moment, I was like, God, whatever. So I just go down my inner child, whatever, to just calm myself down and collect myself. So I put on the SpongeBob film from 2004. And the next thing I know, that there's a particular scene that basically reassures the whole red and blue thing that I was onto. Mr. Krabs is red and blue in the movie, representing the balance of the physical and ethereal world, the balance of science and spirit, the balance of human and aliens. And that's why superheroes have red and blue. Cops, politics, NASA, gas station, banks, a lot of them have these same colors because they're controlling or balanced the physical and ethereal on their side. So when we see politics, is literally because they have both sides of the spectrum controlled. Same thing with banks, gas stations, NASA, especially with the red as like the lizard tongue. That's another thing too. Somebody told me about that, and I was just like, well, okay, that makes sense. And especially with the blue, like there's red and blue. And then cops, like there's just a bunch. So you also got Matrix, red pill, blue pill. You got Star Wars. You got Sonic and Dr. Eggman. You got Lilo and Stitch. All the blue were in the ethereal, while all the red was the physical. And finding that out and tying that into the SpongeBob film, I learned that Mr. Krabs again was frozen because Plankton stole King Neptune's crown. King Neptune in the movie was wearing red, meaning he was like humanity and the physical reality. And the knowledge of truth was taken from them by the reptilians or plankton. They work with that advanced technology. They're green with yellow eyes, and may I say less? Or do I need to say more seriously? And he's evil, quote unquote, and everything. There's a lot of red and blue in the video that I go into that is on point 1,000%. I'm not going to get into every single one, but one that's huge is that you have Plan Z on the folder. Z is red. The reptilians control the physical reality. Another one I'll bring up is Dennis. Who does Plankton send after SpongeBob and Pat when he realizes that they're trying to bring the crown back to humanity? He sends that dude on the motorcycle with all black and black glasses like the Men in Black. But he also had a red bandana on because Men in Black is something in the physical reality, quote unquote, that we have to deal with. And he's also a green fish, like in the movie. And I've heard that a lot of Men in Black are, Dracos or Reptoids, like undercover. Like they're obviously, because like they're the ones that want to deceive. Like that they're all part of the same game. So I thought that was interesting that just starting from seeing red everywhere and learning that red and blue colliding to the physical and ethereal reality. And we have that same battle. Someone, one of my subscribers mentioned this on a comment of my video. Pepsi and Coca-Cola. That's a classic one too. I'm like, shit, good one. And then somebody else mentioned real wrestling, and then Rock'em Sock'em Robots. There's quite a bit. Like, just it's small, but little messages that you could pick up to realize that we are in this constant battle of red versus blue. We are in this constant battle of not being balanced here on Earth with our science and spirit, and we need to be. That's probably what our next step needs to be as humanity, is to be balanced and have that crown. But the only thing I'm still trying to figure out is, in the film, you know, SpongeBob and Patrick come in contact with the Men in Black. SpongeBob and Patrick come in contact with the all-seeing eye, or the Cyclops that takes it back to Shell City, where they get the crown and bring it back to humanity. And then David Hasselhoff helps them, who's wearing red swim trunks, meaning like he's a giant in the red physical reality. Someone picked that up for me. But I just don't know if this means that us Starseeds have to come in contact with the Men in Black, or if we have to get thrown away somewhere before we bring the crown back. Because I'm like still trying to figure out what the crown is. I don't know if it's like just the crown chakra or something physical. I think it's the movie in itself, maybe, but it's just interesting how starting from red and blue pushed to that, and then noticing it's also on like the Grateful Dead artwork,
Might
and
be
a
like
couple of other movies.
might be humanity's sovereignty in their authority over themselves, and then so the whole game ends with us reclaiming our authority and not giving it our power away to others.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like all the rabbit holes you go down through the perceiving through the hologram of light coming to us in every direction, and being perceived by the brain, and what is this reality we're in, and what is it trying to tell us. Can you talk a little bit on the Huffalumps and Woozles?
What? What, like, but the first YouTube video I posted, like, what, 15 years ago? Well, wait, really?
And then
Well,
I'll ask you
actually,
about the more in the SpongeBob stuff too.
yeah. Well, with the Hefflips and Woozles, like, now that I think about it, maybe that one means something. Is it still on my channel? I don't know if I.
Yeah, it is. So beings that are like in the unseen and do stuff, and
Yeah, and you know what? I think there's a Hefflump in there that's wearing red and blue.
mm.
I think. Hold on, let me
So
pop it
like
up
the
real
left
quick.
brain, the right brain.
Yeah, I heard about that one too. Someone brought that up in my video. They commented that when they do tests on the brain, they detect it in red and blue. And I'm like, bruh, like it's
Right. All
everywhere.
the polarities, US's flag, the US versus China, communism versus capitalism, all the polarities in what we need to bring to peace in the usually when I find things that need to come to peace, like it's marriage counseling. They got to put up boundaries, and they have to define their boundaries and make it apparent to the others. There's consequences for overcoming these boundaries, and as they stop over inter you know crossing each other's boundaries, then they can form a closer and closer a relationship. They can start trading and commerce and come to peace through the light and the dark, the masculine, the feminine, the inner child, the inner elder, going deeper in all the polarities of the self, and
That's true.
the up and the down, the descending, ascending, the freedom and the manifestation downward direction. um yeah, there's a lot of decoding between red and blue for sure.
There is, yeah. And at first, like, I was just explaining it to my family members. Some of them hopped on board, but most of them were like, really, there's red and blue everywhere. That's a coincidence. I'm like, I'm deeper than that. Sorry. And so are all of us in this community. So I know y'all will pick it up and
Yeah,
appreciate it, because it's literally all around us.
yeah, it goes back to the
And
origin.
yeah. And you know, that's funny because I'm looking at the thumbnail and it does have a red and blue heffalump on it. It's got red and blue stripes on the thumbnail. That's funny.
What inspired that to be your first video?
I know, right? 11 years ago. Oh, 177. Wow, because I haven't looked at that in a while. 117 Master Chief's number. I see that a lot, and it's at 117,000 views.
Yeah,
That's
why is that
crazy.
your most popular video?
I well, it was the first one that I put up, and then I had like some little stupid ones from like back in the day. Like I used to make candy bracelets with like beads. Kandi. People who were like seen or goth know what I'm talking about with that stuff. I also had videos of my pet rats on there, a scuba diving video, but then my instructor gave me shit for it because I said I dove to 100 feet when that violates my license when my meter said I was at 100 feet, but okay. So it was like just I privated a bit of stuff from like my early days, but this was one of the first, yeah, because I think I posted Blink lyrics after this. So yeah, that's funny. Yeah, isn't that funny? So the lyrics, they're black, they're brown, they're up, they're down, they're in, they're out, they're all about, they're far, they're near, they're gone, they're here, they're quick and slick, they're insincere, beware, beware, be a very wary bear. A heffalumperwoozle is very confusal. Oh shit. The heffalumperwoozle is very sly. They come in ones or twosles, but if they so choosels before your eyes, you'll see them multiply. Oy, what
Mm.
the
It
heck?
goes into extra dimensional beings.
I was about to say they're extraordinary, so better be wary. They come in every shape and size. If honey is what you covet, you'll find that they love it because they'll guzzle up the thing you prize. Oof.
So if you've
Oh,
ever
that's
think
dark.
like disappearing in the house,
Yeah.
the fate kind of stuff. Okay.
Oh my God. No
Yeah.
wonder why you texted me about Heffalumps and Woozles like a couple weeks ago after the conference because I was like, oh yeah, I kept it up there because I love Winnie the Pooh and people still watch it and I'm not gonna take it down. So that's funny that you sent it and then you're like, come on, look into it. Well, snap crackle pop. That's pretty deep.
Right.
That's cool though.
Yeah, and let it yeah, you gotta go soon, right?
Yeah, like a couple minutes.
Okay. What other shows you got going on in the roster coming up?
For decoding wise,
Yeah.
I wanted to do the Avatar film. I wouldn't say there's a lot of red and blue in there, but obviously with them being blue, we already know that there's a lot of blue beings because they don't have oxygen where they come from,
Yeah,
so
the
their
blue
blood's
cat
not
people.
red. Yeah, exactly. So not only is there red and blue like with the blood, of course our blood here once exposed to oxygen it's red, but usually blood is blue. But with these beings, a lot of them are known to be blue. Just said that, yeah. But in the Avatar film, they are indeed the Lyrans, and I don't think James Cameron knew what he channeled when he made this movie. And también con George Lucas for Star Wars, because I know that he didn't realize what the hell he was channeling with that. So with the Avatar film, we have the Navi beings. And if you look at the Avatar bodies compared to the ones that the humans made, Jake's hand has 5 fingers, while all the other Navi beings have 4.
Hmm.
If I could, like, you know what I mean. They have 4 fingers, while the regular human avatars have 5. That's huge because I didn't notice that till I watched it after the conference because I'm trying to pick up on more stuff for like my videos in the future. So I noticed that they all have, of course, their typical cat facial structure, features, reflexes, tail, and ears, but they're also very spiritual, loving, and very grounded at that. They also have floating cities. It might not be a city that we perceive as a city, but it's still floating, which checks my dream. So there's that. And the biggest part in that film is that these beings from outside of Lyra or Pandora came in to infiltrate and steal their resources. That's what the Reps and Dracos were doing back then. They came to their constellation because they needed more resources. Their greedy asses took them all from wherever they came from before, and they needed more. So they found the Lyra constellation. They asked for resources, not really asked, but they were trying to have some basic exchanges, but then they wanted more. So if the Lyrans are going to say no, what are the Reps going to do? They're going to go in and attack and destroy their home and continue to steal more resources for their own power gain. It is insane. Like the symbolism in that movie too. I was going to talk about and probably release around the second one. So yeah, I was probably going to talk about the second film once that one drops. I have to get my movie ticket because I got to see it on opening night.
Yeah.
But that one and yeah, the Rick and Morty Polony Show thing. I know that there's going to be more in the future, but there's another one that I can kind of mention real quick. It's a scene that I happened to catch from the newest Cinderella film. I haven't even seen it, but the one scene that I happened to see on the TV just because it was on at someone else's house. Apparently, there's lizard people in Cinderella now stealing gold from the castle. You tell me who that represents. Hashtag Anunnaki.
I don't remember lizard people in the Cinderella.
Me neither, but on Disney Plus, it's right there.
Okay, I'll check out that.
It's messed up, people, and it's right in front. It's shown to our kids. It's right there.
I feel like they're gonna do that more and more. Do you see that part in what is it? Inside Job where the lizard people under Yale, or and that's where I am in like Connecticut. They're like, oh, we're gonna here's the rewards for all these times that they're putting more lizard people into media, and we got K-Roo in Smash, and then they're like all these other the Geico and other things.
Yeah.
Hilarious.
Yeah, they're talking about how they put themselves like in everything, like just for that basic little symbolism. But people think that just because it's there that it's just pointless when it's like no. I mean, if it's the most randomest thing. Like, why would they put that in Cinderella? Why would they show a scene of lizard people taking gold from Cinderella's castle? I have not seen the rest of that film, and I just so happened to see that one scene, and then the channel was changed. That was in
Yeah,
what
yeah,
actually
link to that. That's is it
it
in
was the same day I saw this thing. So
is what in that doll, is that like a little gimmick they're making all of them into ETs, or is that like a Halloween thing?
I think it was a mix of all of that. Well, I don't know when this specific toy line was released at McDonald's, but I know it was this fall. I just don't know when specifically.
Gotcha.
But yeah, it's the double vision, the gaslighting mockery thing. That's the part my aunt pointed out. And then I also chimed in with the fact that, like, these are supposed to be kids' toys, even though it's an adult Happy Meal, but they're mimicking the control. And actually, my aunt, she typed up something that she said, hey, if you talk about this, read it real quick. So I want people to think about it for a second. So the way that here it is, the way that she described it, and the adult Happy Meals recently with the prizes that are the old characters from McDonald's from our childhood. The difference is these characters have double eyes, like seeing double or something,
All of them had
misdirection.
double eyes?
All of them, something or misdirection. This is a direct cut on our human nature, our physical being, almost saying, hey, we have your children institutionalized and are influencing their belief system and educational systems right under your eyes and noses. I do not like this, she says.
And the whole like
That was
adult
her
Happy Meal
standpoint.
thing is like, oh, these are adult children. We're still have them under spell, right?
Yeah. And it's just like, why, who the hell thinks that this is cool to put out there? Like, and especially the merch line. Like, I took a screenshot, like I was gonna put in the video in the future in case they take it all down, but they literally say yummy, yummy double vision McDonald's in my tummy. It's so creepy. Like, why would you do this?
That could be like a lot, yeah, like mix up delusion, going into the whole double think, cognitive dissonance thing as well. Yeah, so holding two
It's
things
messed up.
differently. Yeah, don't believe
Yeah.
your eyes. Okay,
Yeah.
I see that. Yeah, that's with the whole what is it, Balenciaga thing and the ball is king kind of thing.
Yes.
Well,
Honestly, that's like
start
perfect
coming out
timing
more.
with this too. Yeah. Yeah, Ball is king, man. I've only seen like very apparently there were a lot of pictures leaked from that. I've only seen two, but it's like why the hell are these kids holding bears that have like sexy outfits on?
Yeah,
Like
there's people breaking it down. Like the photographer is known for talking about the P word and on like Twitter and questioning why should this be illegal when guns are illegal, and it's like, okay. And then
Yeah.
a bunch of the other people involved, and they're going back now. There's people going back to the old photos, and they're looking into those, and they have stuff in them too. So it looks like it's at the core of it. So
Yeah.
yeah. So
And
can you drop how people can reach you?
of course. So you can find my YouTube or Insta or Twitter at Savita the Starseed, Savita Thestarsseed. The I, you could use a normal I for the handles, it's okay. But for display purposes, I do use the Hispanic I because I am Boricua. So you can feel free to message me on any of those. And if you also are interested in any local meditations, I've been encouraging a lot of people like, hey, go out to your local areas. Let's start doing our grid work in person. So I am hosting public meditations every other Thursday in Tampa. If people are anywhere near Tampa, Florida, please feel free to reach out and join us. We have about a group of 10 actually, and more people are coming our way, and we're sitting down together and enjoying the energy, talking to each other, exchanging the knowledge, and it's nice. We're thinking about doing a potluck actually in the future. So, and for my YouTube videos, I don't have a concrete schedule, but I guess that's the fun of it. So I post some stuff on there, like I said, between interview with the Starseed, with fellow Starseeds to come on talk about their journeys. Got some Starseed videos on decoding and all kinds of craziness. And there's just more in the future. So long as my time frees up, I'm just slow. But the videos I post are deep, and I really hope you guys enjoy them.
Yes, please go visit her and subscribe. Yeah, that's cool that you're in Tampa. I just we just tracked back a big place of power there for amplifying telekinesis right in Tampa Bay. So that's pretty cool.
Wait, 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 wait. Explain.
Yeah, there's a big place of power on one of the islands in Tampa Bay that amplifies telekinesis. So I was like tracking that back with somebody. So that's cool that you're there. Maybe I'll have to come visit. Uh,
Yeah. What?
so yeah, yeah. Um,
Oh, that's cool. It gives me a
oh
reason to stay a little bit, I guess.
yeah, are you
It,
thinking about moving?
yeah, I'm over the temperature. It's really freaking humid. And honestly, like between me and some of the people in this Bay Area grid workers group, we have felt for a while that Tampa's long overdue for a hurricane, and that we feel that it's going to happen in the future, because I don't think Tampa's been hit directly in a couple decades. And since I've lived here in like since 9/11, me personally, going through the hurricanes, they've all missed Tampa specifically when it was supposed to hit directly. So we're thinking that with the hurricanes getting bigger as well, that Tampa's going to get hit in the upcoming years. So I just kind of want to share that,
Mm.
um, in
Well,
case anybody else feels the same way.
you can always influence the hurricanes and steer them. Is
Yeah.
what I like to do anyway. They're already influenced by the dark forces to hit places, so you might
Oh
as well.
yeah.
It goes into like what its purpose is, like why it's going there. Florida is like becoming more lighter, so it doesn't necessarily need hurricanes to hit it, but there used to be a lot more purposes before for it hitting them. It does like a lot of sucking up negative spirits out of the area, and can portal things in. Interesting. Um, you're also an artist.
Yeah, I love to draw actually. Well, shit. I'll show you something that I drew. It's just
Full
angled
Metal
correctly.
Alchemist.
I did that. Yes. So what I did, so old school projectors, our teachers would take like the markers and draw on that transparent quote unquote paper, and it would project on the screen, and it was just marker, like before the Elmo. I used that and then copied from my sketchbook onto the transparent paper, and then put that on the projector. That way I can scale it, because I am terrible at drawing things more than once. So I just make sure that I copied and pasted it. That way, when I made it even bigger, that I would get the scale right. So I used watercolor and Copic markers to get that. and it's I did a damn good job, I'm not gonna lie. I love it. It's
Yeah.
really, really cool. And honestly, oh yeah, and I drew like little this was before my Starseed awakening. I drew a little alien playing video games, and he's got little PJ shorts on, and I can't drag my head thing anymore, but it's got like the little Halo logo on it
Mm.
on his little shorts, and just a little elephant with like little splots and music stuff. So I used to draw a lot, especially as a kid, but you know, going through life and adulting, our time stolen from us. But it's okay. I know I'll have more free time again soon. Um, but I did want to say this because I was asked about this recently. If anybody's looking to activate your Starseed DNA, a good way to do it is to like get into your creativity and let that thing flow, because you never know what comes out might spark something. Even simply listening to a song or seeing an image can spark a remembrance for you. And I remember you talking about that too with the whole Grimlock thing from Transformers. Like as soon as I saw that face, I was like, yes, that's what they look like, at least in the face. So
Yeah, yeah. I showed her the image when she described the the T-Rex. Yeah, I love Full Metal Alchemist goes in a lot of transmutation stuff. Yeah, it was a good show when I was a kid growing up. One of my favorites, and Adult Swim. Did that
yeah.
and there's a lot of soft disclosure in it, and actual concepts in alchemy and alternate timeline, and then the truth and the tree of life, all that. Is did you also your wall like is amazing? Like what's going on there? Did you paint that?
Oh no, no, no. It's just a tapestry in the
Oh, okay. I
background.
was gonna like, what the fuck?
I mean, I used to draw on my walls back in the day in like high school and stuff. My dad and I actually, when Avatar 1 came out, that's when I started going on a black light binge and started loving neon colors. We painted my walls black, like black chalk paint. That way I could take fluorescent paint and it would pop. And I actually like try to mimic the Avatar like scene. So
Yeah.
at night the room would pop. So it was really cool. And then in high school at my mom's house, I drew the silhouette of Bono from U2 singing like this, like whatever. Um, and I drew that on there and then painted it in, and it looked great. But then her and I butt heads and she painted over it.
Okay.
So
Oh,
I've drawn a lot. Yeah, I actually have a big piece of art over there that I haven't touched in like a year or two, and I need to, but ugh, work, man. It drains you. And I hate that. Like, who the heck came up with that? Like, that's just disgusting. And I know that with our ancestors, they worked way more than 40 hours a week. But, dude, like, how are we supposed to even have a life? I don't know how our parents did it or their parents did it. I don't know how people are able to juggle everything and have a family, you know?
slavery system. Yeah, you get paid to live.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I hope to see you do more artwork and spiritual nature, because yeah, just in what your third eye tunes into and being able to represent it, and windows to other dimensions and realities that comes with entanglement in this the spiritual nature, and you can put life into that. Upgrades go along with it, and everyone that sees it involves in that upgrade of that system of network. And as you grid the planet with your artwork, you also have a store. Can you mention that?
Oh, yes. So I have a little merch store. It's savitasvault.co, SAVITASVAULT.co, or you can hop into my link tree and tap away. So I have a couple little collections. I have a Starseed definition collection because I felt it was long overdue and there hasn't been one yet. So I took the liberty of making a Starseed definition shirt. There's of course cups and like little things. So feel free to take a look at it. I also have my
Yeah,
space
show up the
pattern.
points. Yeah.
Yeah, my space pattern joggers, baby. They're so freaking fun. And honestly, they don't fade. I've washed my pair so many freaking times. I wear them so much. And they are black light reactive, but I got blue lights on, not black lights. So it's not going to look pop, pop, but it still pops, especially with the yellows.
Hmm.
So that's the Space Joggers collection, and I have one that also says bring sci-fi to life, because that was my slogan for God, since COVID happened, like we have been far behind our human evolution. We need to get it together and start bringing our sci-fi fantasies to reality. And that was before my Starseed rabbit hole too, when I came up with that slogan. So it's kind of interesting how everything unfolds. But there's that, and I also have a sticker that says coincidences with the no slash on it. So there's a couple little things in there, and I wanted to do more stuff in the future. So
Awesome. Wonderful. We'll put that in the description. Yeah, and I'm Sean Bond of the Sonic League, Sean Bond on Facebook, and Sonic League on YouTube, PsionicLeague.com. And yeah, you can reach me for consultations, sessions. I also got on the membership site, which is free, lots of video procs on different abilities that will help you strengthen your awakening and your power and your ability to do work in the chess game and of this reality. As we figure out why we're here and ask the big questions and go down those deep rabbit holes that the hologram tries to message us, but we don't listen. And you can definitely watch a bunch of Savita's videos on how to get into that frame of mind so you can start questioning more and going deeper than you ever have before.
Oh yeah, the manifest video, because I see a lot of you saying, I can't do this, I can't do that, stop it. When you say you can't, you literally stop yourself from being able to do it. So please start saying the opposite, bleh. Start saying what you want to see and you will see it.
Yeah, limitless thoughts and words patterning into the world. You want to free yourself. A lot of people, I ask questions and they say they don't know, and I call bullshit. There's a part of you that knows exactly what to answer that question deep inside you. Just give it time. Like if you gotta like sit in silence to open it up, that present of knowledge, then do so. But you know, a lot of people don't realize you are everything. You technically know everything.
Yeah,
It's like deep layers and letting go of all the not knowing energy and forgetting energy and all the other stuff blocks us.
absolutely. You're not wrong.
So thank you all so much for joining us in this show, and let us know if you want to see more of this wonderful guest, and comment below, share as much as possible. That we'll be able to know if you want to see more of this, especially with that like, and yeah, spread this all about. Thank you so much for coming. Honored. Love you all.